Hello, and thank you for joining us today for Candid Conversations with Entrepreneurs. My name is Paula Anderson, and I'm a journalist with Memphis Small Business Quarterly, which is a magazine that highlights emerging and enterprising entrepreneurs in the city of Memphis. And today we're going to be joined with Carolyn Michael-Banks, who is the owner of A Tour of Possibilities. Thank you for joining us today, Carolyn.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we're going to talk a little about your entrepreneurship journey, what led you to start your business, and then we'll talk about a little bit more things after that.
Sure. My journey began as it related to the fact that my CEO did not like my changes that I made in the company. So I got the position of general manager, and for some reason I thought I'd have some authority. I don't know why, but I thought you get promoted, you get to do things. So one of the things I wanted to do specifically was to add African American history to the script. I was working for a national sightseeing tour company, and I was in the Washington, D.C. office.
Okay.
And so I did all the research, got everybody trained. I'm thinking this makes all the sense in the world. And then I get a call from my CEO, who did not live in D.C., but he calls me and he says, "What's all this black stuff?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, was there grease on the seat? Do I need to send somebody a check? Because I'm so responsible, right?"
Yeah.
And he said, "No, it's not grease." And I said, "Are you referring to the African American history that's now in our script?" Because it was void. And he said, "Well, I'm getting calls, I'm getting letters that people are just too uncomfortable with this information." And I said, "Well, you know, history can be uncomfortable, especially African American history can be very uncomfortable. It doesn't mean it didn't exist, it just means we're not talking about it."
Okay, so this was in what
This was in Washington, D.C., and I was there in 1988, 89.
Okay, so over 30 years ago.
So, yeah. Ooh,
so why
thank
do
you for putting that up to me. 30
So
years.
why do you think that he was not comfortable with it? Was it because of the information that was being communicated?
Oh, yeah, it was real clear. And I know he probably was getting calls, and he probably was getting letters.
Okay.
Because remember when First Lady Michelle Obama was talking about those who were enslaved that built the White House, and how that was an experience for her to be in there?
Right.
That kind of information can make people very uncomfortable.
Okay.
And part of what I have found is in doing things with a historical perspective, there is so little known. Because also, in my opinion, people write history based on their level of comfort. So if they're not comfortable with the information, they're not going to write it very well.
Okay.
And when we learn history in often these vacuums that we learn it in, we're unable to make connections to what happened then to what happens now. And everything is connected from the past to the present. But if you were not taught history in truth, you are skewed in terms of how you see things today, because you just never learned it. Oh, you never learned it at all.
So share with us some of the things that you were trying to share during that time period, and then bring us up to what you're doing now.
So in Washington, D.C., we talked a lot about in our tour Pierre Charles L'Enfant, the person who designed the nation's capital.
Okay.
But the rest of that story was Pierre Charles L'Enfant got a hissy fit in a short term and decided he was leaving.
Okay.
But it was Benjamin Banneker, an African American, who was working with him during that period of time. And because of the work of Benjamin Banneker, the city's plans were finally finished.
Okay.
And he did that as a person who no one would have expected.
Okay.
But then why weren't we telling the rest of that story?
Okay.
It's just as simple as adding the rest of it to get a true picture of what was happening in the nation's capital.
Okay, so why did you think Memphis was a good market for what you're doing now?
Well, I had never planned to be in Memphis. I'm a native Bronx, New York girl from way back.
Okay.
It just so happened I met the man of my dreams who lived in Memphis.
Okay.
And I had actually started my company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And in Philly, which was an incredible opportunity, but I decided once, talk about relationships, is that I wanted to continue the one I was in, and it meant marriage and it meant me moving. But when I started reading about Memphis, because I knew very little about it. I mean, Memphis to me was barbecue and Elvis, which it is for most people.
Okay.
But even when I came here, I took a tour, because tours are me. Tours are us, tours are me, tours are me. So I took tours, and I'm like, there's got to be more to this city. Because we tend to just not, in traditional tours, we tend to leave a lot of the uncomfortable information out.
Right.
But when I started reading and I found out there was something around every corner in this city, I said, well, this might be why I'm in Memphis, because believe me, I wasn't quite sure for a long time.
Okay.
But I had a chance to start finding just some gems that I probably should have known but never knew and wanted to share it.
Okay, so you said barbecue and Elvis. So now that we have a Civil Rights Museum,
Yes.
that's considered to be a tourist
A
attraction.
major draw. But the problem is, if you just do the museum, you still miss a lot of Memphis.
Okay.
So the basic statistics that I think are important for us to know is that we have 11.7 million people come through this area annually. They spend $3.5 billion in this area annually.
Wow.
So when I started looking at the possibility of doing what I do in this city, I knew there was a market for it, but I also knew that all of those people coming here were missing so much of Memphis only because there was no one really to tell it to them.
Okay, so thinking about you trying to solve a problem
Yes.
as an entrepreneur. So how did you go about actually knowing who you needed to market the services that you provide to? And I know that you have some tours, and we'll talk about maybe a couple of those. So tell us, what was that discovery process for you?
Interesting in terms of this journey that I'm on. I had done tours in DC, in Savannah, Georgia, in Philly, thought I knew, and then I found out the things I didn't know. So to me, my market was everybody, and I think that's one of the major mistakes that entrepreneurs make. They need to get a better name for that. Entrepreneurs make. And the mistake is thinking you can market to everyone.
Right.
But what I was able to learn over time, especially in analytics that were available on sites that I didn't even know about. I mean, there's so much I did not know.
Okay.
But it broke down who was looking at my tour, who was purchasing my tour. So I had the demographics that I finally needed to target, which are women between the ages of 35 and 44. Who knew? I mean, I just didn't know. But that is one of those things I think the learning process was critical for, because you can't go in there thinking everybody is your audience as much as I want it to be. Because I think everybody needs to know. But there are certain things that I have now found that work in the background of so many things I'm involved in that gives me that kind of information. So my discovery, which I even learned a term before I knew it meant something, had to do with knowing who they are and therefore really kind of fine-tuning what it is I'm doing.
Okay. So what kind of resources have you used as an entrepreneur to kind of help you to grow your business? Because you've been in business since 2014, right?
Yes, it'll be August 6th of this year will be 5.
Okay.
And the reason why the date is so clear for me is because I decided to start this business the day before my birthday.
Okay.
That was going to be my gift to myself when I felt the world. But so we're getting ready to turn 5. And the resources that I became connected to was SCORE, which is how I found you. My mentor sent me your information and said, you need to talk to this woman. I'm like, okay, I will. You know.
Was that Gary?
No, Gary I met with, he's my co-mentor.
Okay.
And it was Jim, but it was so interesting. But then I started dealing with the National Association of Women Business Owners, NABO.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you one thing about this organization. So I joined it. I'm a woman. I figured that makes good sense. But they have a program called the Accelerator. And I knew I needed something a little bit more intensive. And so I took it. And one of the reasons why I took it was because one of my weaknesses was my ability to understand financials.
Okay.
I was clear on that. I mean, I could do a tour, but the finances, which is the business side of this, I needed help. So I took the Accelerator, and I'll never forget the class where we had to turn in our financials. I knew I was going to be naked at that point, so I hesitated and almost didn't do that assignment.
Okay.
But then it was like my spirit said, you know, that's why you joined this thing. So I did. I sent in my financials, and the facilitator, within an hour of getting my information, called me and said, we need to talk, if not today, like tomorrow.
Okay.
My stomach turned. She said, if we don't talk, you'll probably go under. It was that real, that direct, that moment.
Okay.
It was a truly come to Jesus moment.
Okay.
You know, because here I'm thinking I'm doing well, because I did not know how to read my financials.
So what did you have to turn in? Was it a balance
Profit and
sheet?
loss,
Okay.
balance sheet,
Okay.
all of that, which was still relatively new to me.
Okay.
You know, but I had QuickBooks set up. I had the stuff. But it doesn't matter if you have it set up if you don't know what those numbers mean.
Okay.
So I sat in Panera Bread, I will never forget it, May of 2017, along with the other facilitator. And they told me, if you don't pivot now, you are going under.
Okay, and what did pivoting mean?
Pivoting meant that the structure that I had set up,
Okay.
certain tours that I had developed,
Okay.
they were not meeting my bottom line requirements.
Okay.
And I thought just because I had people on tour, I was doing fine.
Okay.
But I wasn't getting the balance of my output and my input, stuff that seemed so basic.
Okay.
I was just so into doing my tours, I thought,
Yeah. Okay.
no. And so, for example, I had a 4-hour tour.
Okay.
Which is where I would take people around the city. I'd stop at either the Civil Rights Museum, they go in and come out, or I'd go to Slave Haven, they go in, and I'd be waiting for them. And the bottom was, you can't afford to do this tour.
Okay.
You can't afford to spend 4 hours of your day doing this. Then she said, you are not charging enough. And I had to shift that. And all of that was happening truly knowing that what you don't know can put you under.
Right.
This journey, when you don't know your numbers and you really don't know the business side of this thing, this is not a hobby.
Right.
And they were real clear about that. I know you like giving tours, they said.
Yeah.
But the business is not just giving tours. The business is knowing everything that has to go with that so you can stay in business.
Okay. And so let's talk about some of the tours. I noticed that you
Sure.
have a grand tour.
Yes.
An overview tour, mind, body, and soul, and step on guide service. So tell us about a couple of those.
So the basic tour that I offer is called the Overview Tour. It takes about 2.5 hours. And its purpose is so that you can get a real sense of this city historically, from what has happened in the past to where we are, and then possibly what is coming down the line.
Okay.
The Grand Tour is my private tour. So even though my vehicle only holds 10, if you want to just have it just you, or maybe you're like, we have a lot of girls' nights out kind of thing, if that's all you want, that's fine. And then we just customize the itinerary to meet your needs.
Okay.
The Mind, Body, and Soul tour is when we do a tour and we add some food.
Okay.
Because, you know, when you tour, you get hungry.
Right.
And one of the places that I frequent is Jim and Samella's. I don't know if you've ever been there in
Never
South
been there
Memphis. I don't know what they do in that kitchen. And I said to the owner, Talbert Fleming, I said, what you do, put your foot on all in it? He goes, he puts everything in it. And it's in a house. So you feel like you're going to Big Mama's house. You get your own silverware, you got red Kool-Aid. I mean, it's just the experience of it.
Okay.
So one of the things I've learned over the many years being in tourism, that a tour for me needs to be more than on your right, on your left. You've got to feel.
Oh, I see.
And I developed a tour that you can feel. So when you leave, you're not going just, oh, well, you know, no, you have felt some of Memphis on that 2.5 hour journey. That one.
So what are some of the sites that you can see on your tour?
Sure. Well, we start right down at the river because that's where the city began.
Okay.
And then we do go by Slave Haven, one of the stops on the Underground Railroad. Of course, we've got to drive by the Civil Rights Museum, Church Park, Claiborne Temple, where the I Am a Man Plaza is now, Mason Temple, Lemoyne College, Stax. But what I want to share with people, it's not just the sites, because you can get a book and go to these sites.
Okay.
What I give you is the story in between the sites. That's what's harder to get when you're trying to go through a guidebook on your own. So we add in music. I'm telling you, 2.5 hours, you're like, wow. And that's, to me, when I wake up in the morning, when I finish a tour, I want people to say, I had no idea. All of this was in Memphis. And I am also focusing on Memphians. Because often people who live in a city, and it's not just Memphis, but often people who live in a city never tour their own city.
Right.
And we're usually our worst critics because we really don't know our city. We know the area where we grew up, we know where we work, we know where we go to church. But this city is so rich. And I believe if more Memphians can really kind of grasp the richness of this city, when we talk to people, because I have heard some Memphians, you don't want to come here. This is not, come on now. There's nothing here to do. That,
Yeah.
But once they take this tour, they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because I also, part of my tour is to connect people to African American owned businesses.
Okay.
So along the route, I'm pointing out businesses that many people never even knew existed. They may drive by. Office at Uptown in Uptown. People have driven by it forever, but never knew it was African American owned.
Right.
You know, and the Cupcake Cutie. I mean, there's just places that people just don't know.
Yeah.
And a lot of us have conversations about I want to support, but they don't know who or where, and that is a shame.
So you mentioned Lemoyne, so I graduated from Lemoyne.
LOC.
Yeah, LOC, and know a lot of history. So what can someone learn about Lemoyne when they do a tour?
I think the fact that it is our only historically black college in this city is important to know when our population is 63% African American. And often when people are on tour, they go, that's the only one you have with, you know, and then right across the street you have the statue of W.W. Harrington.
Right.
And when they find out that, yes, he was our first African American mayor, but he wasn't elected until 1991, again, you hear people go, how could that be? And so it's often not major stuff you need to know, but I mean, even the name itself, how it came from some donations from a northern abolitionist whose name was Francis Lemoyne, and then in '68 it joined with the smaller school, Owen, you know, and together they became, and I just want people to, especially if you live here, to start driving down some streets and go, wow. Because Memphis is a wow city. And in terms of what I'm in now, this entrepreneurial journey, knowing that there's a book out called The Brighter Side, which is nothing but businesses that were in Memphis.
Okay.
And to know that entrepreneurial spirit runs through our veins. And now we have all of these resources they did not have in the 1800s and the early 1900s, yet they were successful business people. And we sit here today with places like this, entities like SCORE, entity like Small Business Development, all these different entities. And then sometimes we sit back and go, I can't do anything. I'm like, that needs to never come out of your mouth again.
Yeah, I interviewed someone who got started in business like in the late 70s. And so his business concept, of course, there was no social media.
No.
So you didn't have all of the resources that we have now to market your business.
Yes.
But of course, you know, you had to start somewhere. So it's like what you're just saying, that some people don't realize that we have more opportunities to actually start businesses now than we've ever had before.
That's right.
And so thinking about that, so who is your source for inspiration? Because as an entrepreneur, things get rough. You know, you don't always make the revenue that you want to make. So.
No. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
So what is your source? How do you keep going?
Actually, it's my mom, who's no longer here, and God. I mean, that's as basic as I can get.
Okay.
Because it was my mom who one day said to me, well, first she said, you know, get a good job and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
But then later on, she saw what I was giving to this sightseeing tour company. And I gave blood, sweat, and tears. You know, you miss all these family outings because in tourism, you are working on those holidays.
Right.
And she turned to me one day and said, why aren't you doing this for yourself? Tell me why you are not doing this for yourself. I said, I don't know. She said, that's what I want you to focus on now. You keep working for them, but you learn everything you think you might need to know by working with them. So I did. I had a chance to move around the country, open up operations for this company.
Yeah.
You know, and then when I got downsized, when you talk about the moment it really happened, I gave everything to this company for 6 years, moved to 3 different states, and they came in one day and just said, it's over.
And that happens a lot where you're not really prepared for the next phase in your life. So let's talk about you meeting the man of your dreams to move to Memphis. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So I was in Philadelphia working for the Convention and Visitors Bureau in Philly.
Okay.
And I was working in my office. The young lady who was in the front desk comes back to me, and this might be TMI, but she said, I gotta pee. I said, okay, let me take the front desk for you. And I did. I took the front desk, and in walks this man. And he said, I'm looking for some posters of Philly. And in my most professional manner, I said, Why? Because brothers didn't walk in there and ask for stuff like that.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'm from Philly, but I live in Memphis now, and I'm just homesick. And I'm like, oh, I thought that was the sweetest thing. So I spent the next 45 minutes getting posters. And long story short, I had forgotten the woman who went to the bathroom. And she comes back up and she says, you guys just connected? I said, yes, we did. And 2.5 years later, we were married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, long distance relationship. That was a challenge too.
Okay.
But it worked because you didn't have that stuff that gets in the middle that gets you distracted. So all we did was talk on the phone every day, twice a day. Now we have to remember, this was back in the 1998 when cell phone stuff wasn't as easy as it is now. We spent so much money on cell phone bills. We could have probably bought a plane and flew back and forth.
Okay.
But I think it was that time we had to really talk.
Okay.
Because I said there was nothing else in the middle to get you distracted.
Yeah.
And then 2.5 years later, after talking twice a day, every day.
Wow.
Because he worked for the Memphis Police Department. And you want to talk about having to give stuff up to God. When you have somebody who's working in that field, you definitely got to give it up.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if he's ever coming home. And his promise to me was, I will come home with as many holes as I left this morning with. And he just retired last year, thank you, with all the same holes that he had when we met. And that in itself was a whole nother journey. Being married to a police officer, I mean, it's just, it's tough. Yeah. It's tough. And I ended up working with the Tennessee Lottery for 10 years. And the sad part was, I was probably more at risk than he was. He had a vest, he had a gun, and my clientele was in convenience stores.
Oh, yeah.
And I would come home at night and watch the news, and I was just in that store where they had a shooting. And I'm like, there's something wrong, that I'm in more danger than my husband is working as a cop. There's something, which was another reason why I chose to kind of get into this field again, because I had mortality staring me in the face. I had recently lost my sister, my mother, my dad, and I said, I do not want to go out, Lord, in the middle of a convenience store shootout. I just need to do something else. And then I decided that the one thing I did as an adult that I loved doing was doing tours. Okay. And that's how that kind of...
So you feel like giving tours is your passion?
Oh, without a question.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay. So what advice would you give to an entrepreneur who's trying to figure out what their passion is?
It'll be something that comes relatively naturally. If you're forcing it, I'm not too sure. But know that there's a lot of work that goes with it. Passion will only take you to a certain stage. Then you got to be ready to do the work. And I do not like administrative. I don't like that. But without that, I can't maintain my business. So it's a matter of getting educated, because there's things you don't even know you don't know. Because I would go to these meetings and they say, just ask us whatever you want. And I didn't know what to ask. Yeah. So you have to often show up in places where you know they're offering things. Now that's a sacrifice. Right. But I'm telling you, I'm in a program called Emerging Leaders. Okay. And I'm just wondering if I would have done this 4 years ago. I mean, right now we're taking financials, my thing that's still, and breaking down terms I should know by now. But now I'm learning it. Okay. So now when someone asks me for my cash flow sheet, when someone asks me for this, and I can start to go, but wait a minute now, let me show you what happened here. And let me tell you why this looks like this. And let me tell you why I can now project what's going to happen, only because I now have the education. Right. Because this is not something you should be flying by the seat. I mean, there's people out there who I know do it. Right. And they're probably very successful. But my desire is to learn the business of this. So not only do I pass on this business, because I'm in business to sell it eventually. Okay. That's my end goal, because I'm now 62 in a minute. Okay. But I want to learn this so much so that when someone else comes to me and says, Carolyn, what do I need to do? And I just want to be able to say, let me just tell you some things I don't want you to do. Right. Because there's going to be pits you're going to hit and you can't avoid them. But if there's some that I hit that you don't have to hit, please let me share them with you. Yeah. Because this is a painful often journey.
Yeah.
As much as it's rewarding, I aged a lot these past 5 years. I may not look it, but I aged a lot.
Yeah.
Because this runs deep. This is like, you don't do this well, you don't get paid. I mean, it's like that. So when you're used to going to a job and you're going to get a check every 2 weeks, primarily because you showed up, this is so different. This is, if you don't do it, there is not a check. And sometimes there is not a check no matter how much you're doing. And I think the more prepared you might be, the better you'll be able to weather these storms, because these storms come, and sometimes they come really quickly. And it's just when you think you're getting your feet back, something else cuts you, you know. But it is, I would do this again, even with all the stuff that's happened, because I've grown a lot. And as I tell you, my mom was my inspiration, and she said, you are on this planet to do more than breathe. Please find something that'll make a difference.
So what are periods throughout the year that you're most successful? Like, I'm sure during Black History Month, you probably get a lot.
One would think, wouldn't you?
Oh.
Yes, that was an aha moment. And I think what happens is people assume I'm so busy, they don't even cut. Oh, she won't be able to get us in. Oh, yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
But what I'm finding, Memphis is, first of all, our temperature. It makes life really easy in the tourism industry, because we're comfortable all the way through October, even sometimes to November.
Right.
So yeah, busy season is pretty much now, because people are on vacation a lot. Kids are out of school right now. But the other arm of what I'm doing is now getting ready to connect to businesses.
Okay.
Because I want to be the person they come to for orientation, as part of their diversity program. Because what I have learned over time, you need several streams of income.
Right.
And I needed income that I don't have to work so hard for. Because right now, I'm pretty much in the travel leisure market. And I work really hard to get those individual travelers. I'm now looking at working with businesses in Memphis who can be consistent, and I can have them throughout the year.
Okay.
So every time someone comes to work for AutoZone, or for example, now we have the Grizzlies, they got new people in, I want them to learn their city.
Okay.
Now that they're a part of it. I want the people who, for example, work at the city of Memphis to know the people that they're servicing live certain places, and there's a history here that I think they should know.
Okay.
If you're going to be here working for the folk, you should know the city. And a lot of us, as I say, live in our bubbles. We go to work, we come home, and we don't know it. Many of us have lived in certain neighborhoods, never went to another neighborhood.
Right.
And there's some stuff happening in these neighborhoods that if you saw it in one place, you could replicate it somewhere else and stop reinventing the wheel. We got stuff to do.
Okay. Okay. So as we get ready to wrap up our interview, what do you have that you want to share with our viewers about what you have going on in the next couple of months? Any specific tours that you want to encourage them to attend, participate?
I would like for Memphians, and I talk specifically to Memphians right now, that if you've never had a chance to really see your city through a different lens, to take this opportunity to do so. And I'm not a betting woman, but I believe that once you've finished and you leave this 2.5-hour journey, that you'll have a sense of a city that perhaps you have not even thought existed. And that when you talk to friends and relatives, the conversation you will now have is, I can't wait for you to come. Now, don't come and stay with me, but come to Memphis, you know, and stay in one of our brand new hotels, because we've got hotels growing. I mean, now it's just amazing.
Yeah.
But I really want people to know that this city is rich, rich in history, and we're so much more than what people tend to even refer to Memphis as the capital of barbecue and Elvis and all that. And even the Civil Rights Museum, which is such an incredible place. There's so much in every corner, every street, around every bend. Love this city. The possibilities are endless.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Carolyn, for joining us.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed listening to your story, and I'm going to take a tour.
Yay! Thank you.